Stay tuned now for the Racing for Heroes radio show with host Brett Morash on 1460 WVOX.
Hey, Racing for Heroes fans, it is Brett Morash. It is January 28th, Friday on WVOX, WVOX 1460 AM on your AM dial, and of course streaming on WVOX.com worldwide. We are excited to be here today. It is the end of January. Before we bring on our first guest, I do want to put out there that we at Racing for Heroes are truly saddened by the loss of patrol officers Jason Rivera and Wilbert Mora of the NYPD. Jason Rivera's funeral is currently ongoing, and we just put out there that, while Racing for Heroes is typically focused on the veteran community, we also do have our relationships with the first responder community and the police in particular. So anyway, so Jason Rivera, Wilbert Mora, there's a place in heaven for you. And we're just super, super sad about that. So with that, we are going to bring on our first guest. It is Chris Power. He is a driver in the Carolina Outlaw Super Street Series, otherwise known as COSSS, which our good friend JD Gunther heads up. And he is an owner of a mechanic shop down in North Carolina. So Chris, you on the line, brother?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hey, so how's the weather down there? We're about ready to get hammered with a nor'easter. I'm hoping you don't get snow, because I know you guys can't shrug it off like we can.
No, we kind of right on the borderline. We might get an inch, we might get nothing, but it's 30-some degrees, 30, so it's cold here.
Oh, that's enough to collect snow. Yeah, I think we might get a foot of snow here in New Rochelle. So.
Yep.
Yeah. So Chris, I was looking at the Carolina Outlaw Super Street Series, and I was reading all of the rules that JD put up there for the upcoming season. And so tell us a little bit about your car. What are you driving?
I own a Russell Brown. I fell out of Valdez, Georgia building. It's a 3-link car. It's a nice car. Fastest thing I've ever owned.
And what do you got for an engine under that hood?
It's 355 cubic inch Victory Racing engine builds on a fellow named Frank License out of Lexington, North Carolina.
Gotcha. So I mean, that's a pretty impressive car. Now, how did you do last year in the last season?
We won 2 races. We didn't get to run a whole bunch because we had a lot of things going on, work and family, and the wife was sick and stuff. But yeah, we had a pretty good season. We run top 5 every time we went. All
right, there you go. I mean, that's pretty impressive, because I know that JD's really been pushing hard on the series, and this is now, I think, the 3rd year for the Carolina Outlaw Super Street Series.
Yes, sir. He's done a good job. He's brought this series back to life when it had about died. So he's done a real good job with it.
Yeah, for sure. And do you know how many cars are in the series now, or what they're running usually?
I think we usually average about 15 or 18, but I mean, we had like 25, I think, last year on the roster.
All right, there you go.
We have a pretty good crowd every week.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, it's impressive. And, JD, is a sponsor of Race for Heroes, and whenever, they have a race, we're there alongside.
Yeah, he does good. I mean, there's a lot of competition in the class. That's what I like about it. I mean, they 3 or 4 cars, any of them subject to win. I mean, it just ain't one man dominating it.
Yeah, you bet. So tell us about, how did you get into racing, Chris?
My daddy raced for years. I was 18. Instead of getting my driver's license, my daddy got me a race car to keep me out of trouble.
Maybe I should do that with my kids. It might be a good move.
So that's how I got into racing. And I quit a little while after I got out of high school. Just couldn't afford it and stuff like that. But got older and got back into it. And I've been in it forever now.
Well, what was your first race car? What were you driving?
I had like a 85 Monte Carlo.
Oh, that's
stock car, 3-speed, stock rear end, little stock 350 motor.
There you go. Well, because I'm class 89 for high school. So, I mean, you can do the math how old I am. But that car was a pretty darn cool car if you were in high school in the late 80s.
Oh, well, in the late 80s? Yeah, I was born in 81.
Yeah, but that car was awesome when I was in high school. So,
oh, yeah.
That's great. That's great. And how did you do then? Were you on the...
I still actually own that car. That was my first car. I still have it.
Oh, no kidding. Is it a street car now, or is you still racing it?
No, it's a race car. It's got a full road cage and all in it. I ain't a person to get rid of stuff. I still own my first race car.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Now, have you raced that car recently?
I actually run it some this year. The street stock class is Durance Lane or something, a cruiser class. And I put it back together because our Super Street car didn't run every week, and I run it a little bit, but stuff's changed so much, it's just not competitive with what the cars are now.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well,
I put it back under the shutter.
Yeah, can you race that car in JD series?
No, it's a stock chassis car.
That's what I thought, yeah, because
it's not compatible with that. I mean, you could if you want to, but it's just not compatible.
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine it being pretty competitive. It looks cool, though. So,
Yeah.
Now, once you graduated from high school, you became a mechanic, right? And that's what you're doing now.
Yes, sir. That's what I was doing when I was in high school. I worked at my first job. I worked with a fella tearing down motors. Had a machine shop. When the stuff come in, I took them apart, and they just kind of went on through the shop. That was my very first job.
Oh man, that is awesome.
And I've never got off the field. I've always done mechanic work.
Now, are you at that? Now, you ended up actually buying the business from somebody. Is it same one you started at?
No, it ain't the same one I started at. I worked with a fella there, but where I own it now, I worked with a gentleman 15 years. I bought it out in 13. So, and now I work for myself.
There you go. And what type of work do you guys do? A little bit of everything, or like general automotive?
A little bit of everything. We don't rebuild no transmissions or motors, but I mean, mechanic work, tires. I mean, we do a little bit of everything.
And where are you located? It's a little shout out for your community to get folks to come by.
It's a little town called Roland. We ride at the North Carolina, South Carolina line.
Okay, all right, that's not too bad.
Got one stoplight.
Yeah, one stoplight. Well, I think you and I were talking. Like, my family had a place out in Peru, Massachusetts, and we had one stoplight, but it was like the blinking type, so it was even worse. Like they didn't even have the green on it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
So we
have one actual stoplight here.
There you go. And I don't know if you've had a chance to be to Monroe, North Carolina, like near Race for Heroes, or Milton, excuse me. They have one stoplight. It is like the fastest stoplight you have ever seen. It must switch back and forth like 10 times a minute. It's unreal how crazy fast that is.
I've been through there. I mean, I don't quite remember, but I have been through Monroe.
There you go. So now let's talk about some of your sponsors, and what JD's up to. So maybe you can do a few shout outs before we switch to our next guest.
Oh, basically my shop, Chris's Garage, and my daddy runs a body shop, which is Getty's Body Shop.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it that sponsors me. So it's kind of all on me and Daddy pretty much.
There you go. And he's doing body work though, right? That's his specialty?
Yeah, he runs a body shop in the next little town over called Dillon, South Carolina, which is where I'm at.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, that is some hard work. I have tried to do some body work on fiberglass on boats, and I am terrible at it, but B, it's just like it's such finesse to get it perfectly straight and that sort of thing. So it's always works of art. Yeah,
that one for me.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't know if you know this. When they make propeller blades for warships, they actually bring body work guys in to make them smooth. Yeah, if you can believe, because they know what they're looking at and they know how to do like curved like blades and stuff like that. So yeah, just really great. And then anything about JD? I know he's out there listening right now.
I think he's doing the very best job he can. I think a lot of people give him a hard time for what he's tried to do, and they shouldn't. But I mean, he's done a real excellent job, in my opinion. I think some people ought to just give him a little break because the man's doing things that other people won't do. I mean, other people just don't care. I mean, he's put a valid effort in it, and I think he gets a hard time sometimes when he shouldn't.
Yeah,
we race car drivers, so we're gonna give him a hard time. But some people ought to give the man a little break because he's doing what somebody else wouldn't for us.
No, and I think that the type of racing that he's pushing would have died on the vine if it wasn't for JD. So I give him a lot of credit, and everything he's done.
I agree with you 100%. It was on its way out, so he brought it back.
Yeah, well, he is a good man, and for all of you out there, please check out their Facebook page. It's Carolina Outlaw Super Street Series, COSSS. And then see what the races are that are coming up. So Chris, with that, thank you very much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And I didn't want it to be not said, but I am so sorry to hear about the loss of your wife. It was horrible, and our prayers are with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Chris Power, a driver in the Carolina Outlaw Super Street Series. Our next guest, though, has been on the show before. It's Nick Rabenau. Nick is formerly the Green Berets. He was in the 7th group. And he is also now the driver of the 764 Racing for Heroes car, which is one of our tribute cars with all of the names of the combat killed in Afghanistan and Iraq and the post 9/11 wars. And so Nick should be on the line right now, and he's going to be talking a little bit about safety and security. Nick.
Hey, Brett. It's Nick. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Lima Charlie. Read you fivers
All right.
if you want to be really old and sound cool on the radio. So you know that comes from like the lights on the so like on people on their cell phones, like they have the little bars. Well, back in the old days, they used to have like 5 lights, and if all 5 lights were lit up, that meant I read you fivers. So I was like loud and clear. So little known facts of naval radios. But Nick, let's talk about you. Before we talk about safety and security, let's talk about racing because you're actually just now getting into it, and you're driving the white-colored Racing for Heroes car, the 764 car.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I bought that car last year, and we decided I spent a lot of time just practicing last year because this is my first time in a late model on a dirt track, and so I spent some time practicing last year, and I'm just starting practicing this year. And the series that I'm looking to run is the Steel Block Bandits that comes up starting, I think it's March 19th is our first race.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's coming up pretty quick. And I heard you're going to join a series. It's not COSSS with JD, but it's something else.
Correct. So there's a few series that run in our area. I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And so we have a 3 racing series that circle all the tracks around me. So I'm definitely going to be going to as many races as I can. But I tell you, the value of going to a racetrack with that car with the names on it of all the fallen Special Forces soldiers that have passed since 9/11 is immeasurable. Watching fans and just people in general coming up and seeing the car, seeing the POW, looking at the car, looking at names, and the relation, if they actually see a name that they know of somebody that's on that car is just crazy to see the emotion.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, and you know, whenever I go look at that car, I walk right over to Sid Brookshire's name, who was in 75th Rangers and got killed by an IED in Iraq. And, you know, so I think everybody probably knows somebody on there, at least second order.
You're right. Yes. And actually, you know, one thing that comes to my mind is I was at a racetrack in northern North Carolina this last year. And one of the gentlemen of the series that I was racing, he come over to tuck the car and he was looking at it. And all of a sudden you could just see the emotion fill his face. And I walked up and I was just talking to him, and he was explaining to me that the guy on the car was a guy that was attached to his team in Afghanistan, and he died out on their mission. And so just the relationship is so crazy.
Yeah, that's super personal. I mean, especially if you were there when it happened, you know. I mean, I didn't hear about Sid dying until a couple of years after it happened. So it's just, you know, one of those things, you know, like, and I think that that's what we're out there driving for, because it's also, you know, those folks that had survived, you know, a lot of us have mental health challenges or physical challenges because of some of the stuff that we did in the military.
Agreed. And I think that that's part of the tribute of the people that are listed on the car. And you're still carrying out their legacy. You're still carrying their name around, because whether they spent a year in the Army, in the Green Berets or the Navy SEALs and passed away, or they spent 20 years, there's still a legacy and a value there that we're trying to continue. And you're right, there's a lot of unforeseen or unseen scars that people carry that are still alive, that are veterans, that are still continuing to work through those. And so even though they're not listed on the car, they are still with us. And that's part of the nonprofit, is supporting them as long as we can and as long as they're willing to work with us.
100%. So Nick, I'm going to shift gears here and talk a little bit about personal security, and I'll tee some stuff up because I think that up here in New York in particular, it seems like gun violence is on the rise. It is unfettered. they're in the process right now, like literally having a funeral for one of two police officers that were murdered in an ambush in the Queens the other day. So, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I look at Chicago and New York, a lot of them are the same, right? They're trying to regulate gun laws so harshly that it turns law-abiding citizens into criminals. If you want to protect yourself nowadays, like you as an individual, providing home defense for your family, you actually have to become a criminal to have guns if you don't have a permit to carry or a permit in general just to have it for ownership. And it's a very fine line because the crime rate's getting so bad and the criminal system is so upside down right now when it comes to bail for individuals that get arrested and sentencing shortening and whatnot. And so it's creating an ease of a route for criminals to be criminals, but yet it doesn't support law-abiding citizens for protection of their family and themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I had talked the other day is that, listen, I'm a career military officer. I retired into New Rochelle. This is my wife is from. I was trying to get a pistol permit, but the cost was so prohibitive. It just wasn't worth it, because it became so hard. Yet it is clear that if you want to get a handgun in New York, you can get a handgun. It's going to be illegal, but you can get one.
You're right. And look at your career. You were a career military guy. You carried a weapon your whole career. You get out of the military. You live in an area within the United States that has Second Amendment laws, but yet you can't carry a firearm.
Yeah, it is stunning. It is stunning. But I also, and I don't think that we're going to fix that here on Race for Heroes Radio today, beyond to get people to petition your elected officials for some rational changes out there. But let's talk about like what you can do if you were in a scenario that you're subject to gun violence. So here in New Rochelle, 3 days ago, there was a shootout between, I shouldn't say shootout because there was only one person had a gun. Two 16-year-old New Rochelle high school students, there's some conjecture as to how enrolled they were, but for the purposes of this, they are 16-year-old kids that were shooting it, one shot at the other, killing the one of these poor kids. The other one did get eventually arrested, but it was right in front of a school, with elementary students, and parents were there and getting ready to pick up their kids and that sort of thing. What do you do if you're kind of caught in the crossfire?
Yeah, that's difficult because, like you say, 16-year-old kids, they have no real experience with it. Obviously, they're not legal to carry it. So it's the unknown. And the biggest thing for me would be to take cover, hide behind vehicles. Vehicles provide protection, especially your axles, your engine blocks, your A, B, and C pillar within the door frames, at the least, or take cover by getting around the building. But you want to take cover while the gunfire is taking place, while you hear the shots being fired. And when there's a lull in the gunfire, when you hear it stop, you want to run and create distance.
Right, because I mean, at the end of the day, most of these, as far as I can tell, most of these folks are not particularly adept at aiming and having aimed fire. So they're probably not going to directly shoot at you per se. But the problem is because they're not firing accurately, the bullets are kind of all over the place. So the best thing you can do is put some time and distance between you and them, right?
Exactly right. And there's no great answer to this type of scenario because whether you're around vehicles, you're in front of a school, you're in a school with hallways with concrete walls that ricochet bullets. Like, there's no great answer for it. Especially when you're unarmed and nobody on the property or in the surrounding area is armed either. When that happens, it's so quick that there's no law enforcement available unless they happen to have a school resource officer. And nowadays, with what's going on, even those are far and few between at the schools.
Yeah. Well, and, I think of some of the stuff that, Mike and I have talked about, or just, I was a weapons officer in the fleet. So like we talked about this a little bit, is like the difference even between things like cover and concealment. I mean, you can go behind a car, but anyone who's been to a Race for Heroes Gunning Green Berets event knows bullets will go right through a soft side car unless it hits the engine block. So even hiding behind a car, you need to kind of be thoughtful, at least, of like where you're placing the most vulnerable parts of your body, in particular your head and heart.
Yes, you're right. And you know, this is something for civilians and people that just don't have the experience or depth of knowledge on this, is that, you know, as you know, our nonprofit, we run training courses that focus on let's say, fighting in and around vehicles. How do you deal with gunfights, both on the offensive side and defensive side, when you're around vehicles, out in the open, around buildings, and trying to do exactly what you're talking about, which is create distance and time to where you can be safe while, you know, whatever situation that you just found yourself in is taking place.
Yeah. And one of the most interesting things I think Mike told me once was, you know, placing your head, if you're in your car, one of the best things you do is immediately drive out of there as fast as you can, because, you know, the bullet speed drops and their accuracy goes down over time, over distance, but also placing your head against the B pillar. And for those of you who are folks that don't understand what the B pillar is, it's the part where your seatbelt attaches to that holds the roof up. That's a very heavily structured part of the vehicle.
Yes, and if you were, you know, for people out there that know vehicles, if you roll those cars over on their lid or on their roof, they don't crush, because that is the support that's there. And you're right, you can put your head, you can lean back and try to protect yourself as much as possible as you drive out of the area. Your vehicle is a weapon, right? So if you're in the driver's seat of your vehicle and you have the ability to drive through or push through and push the car in front of you out of the way to get yourself out of there, definitely do it, because your vehicle is your protection. And if you have to get out and go on foot for some reason because you're blocked in at an intersection or whatever it is, then that's when we get into the covering concealment and creating distance and space.
Yeah, you know, Nick, it's funny because like I was talking to, you know, my daughter, Julia, she just has her permit. And, you know, so she's learning how to drive. And I always tell her, I'm like, I always like to leave at least a half a vehicle length between me and the car in front of me. And part of that is so that I don't get pinned in. If something goes wrong, I can go around that vehicle a little easier, even if I have to clip them on my way around.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I like to tell people, if you can see the tires, the rear tires of the car in front of you, you're in a good position, because you have the ability to turn left or right. And like you say, get out of the area. And this all falls back on situational awareness, right? Think about walking out of Walmart. Every teenage kid is staring at their phone from the minute they walk out the door of Walmart till they get to their car.
Yeah.
They're so oblivious to all the people that could be in the parking lot, watching them walk out of their car with their bags and their purse, watching to what vehicle they go to, and then trying to rob them right there at gunpoint. Because why? Because they targeted themselves with a lack of situational awareness.
Well, and this is
to look.
Oh, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, as opposed to walking out of Walmart and looking at their car, taking the most direct route, looking at the surroundings. If anybody is standing around them, make eye contact. Let them know that you see them. There's so much you can do when it comes to situational awareness to eliminate or prevent some of these issues.
100%. And, you know, I think in the military, we all been through that sort of anti-terrorism training, you know, like, which is very, very designed for every single person in the military. So it's not just for special forces, it's for cooks and truck drivers and US Navy surface warfare officers and whatnot, right? But it's like being that hard target, because if a criminal element sees you and you look like you have your wits about you and you're paying attention to what's going on, they're going to move on to the next person. And not that I want something to happen to the other person, I just don't want it to happen to me.
You're right. Yeah, you're creating a hard target. And when people look at this, they look at targets of opportunity. Who is the easiest one that I can rob and get away with it? Whether it's stealing their car and their purse and getting away with it, or whether it's stealing their purse and running away. Like, it just comes down to situational awareness and being a hard target.
Yep. I mean, listen, even at our house, I mean, we had an incident at our house a couple of years back. A woman knocked on the door at 2 a.m. She was, would appear to be inebriated, and insisted on coming in the house because she said she had just left our house. I won't tell the whole story because we don't have enough time, but that resulted in us putting a security camera at the door, but it's down just enough that as you're approaching my house, not only can it see you, but you can see it. And I do that specifically because I want the bad guys to know that they're being watched. Go to the next house.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, if you create a difficult means for them to enter your house, then in their mind, once they get in, it's going to be difficult to deal with you or whatever's inside as well, whether it's dogs, intrusion systems with wailing horns or whatever. All you're doing is trying to create a way to divert them from coming to your house and go hit the house next door.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is critically important, is that, again, making sure that you are the hard target. And Nick, we're in the last minute of our show. Any final shout outs before we go to the end of the show?
No, it's the beginning of the year, and Racing for Heroes is off and running, and it's really strong this year, especially in the racing world. So any donations that anybody can do for Racing for Heroes would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. And that's at www.racingforheroes.org, and go to our donate page. We have a couple of events coming up. We'll put that out on our Facebook page, and looking forward to the rest of the year. So thanks again, Nick. And congratulations to your son joining the United States Army.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. He's in basic right now, so we'll see how it goes.
All right. That's awesome. I'm so excited for CJ. He's such a good young lad. All right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Nick. And that's it for our Race of Heroes show this week. We'll be back next week. Whole new bunch of guests. And with that, we'll leave you with the real Doug Lane a little further down the road.